Coming up, aging matters in rural communities.
My granddad bought this property in 1919. Those are the mountains behind us. It has a pretty view. It's a quiet place.
According to the 2010 census, 93% of Tennessee is rural.
Growing up in a rural area like Deer Lodge is, your children have access to the openness. Then the challenges come as you do age and you become older, and we do what we're able to do with what we have.
In the U.S., roughly 1 in 5 older adults live in a rural area. In Tennessee, more than 1 in 3 older adults are aging in a rural community.
You have new people who will come in, who will talk ugly about rural America. There's nothing here. There's no amenities. But the people will not let you go hungry. They will not let you be cold. You are taken care of.
I know I'm getting older, and the only challenges I see is it's going to get to a point where I won't be able to do nothing. And my wife will have to take care of me. You know, I've always thought it, and I always said, when my time comes, I want to live in the country. And I'll be here in this place till my time comes.
Major funding for Aging Matters is provided by the West End Home Foundation, enriching the lives of older adults through grant-making, advocacy, and community collaboration. The Jeanette Travis Foundation, dedicated to improving the health and well-being of the Middle Tennessee community. The HCA Healthcare Foundation, on behalf of TriStar Health. Cigna, together all the way. Additional funding provided by Jackson National Life Insurance Company, the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee, and by members of NPT. Thank you.
There's a reason why people choose to live in small towns across the country. It's where many of us grew up. It's home. There's a close-knit sense of community, a slower pace of life, and you know your neighbors. Many who live in these communities feel a deep connection to their home and hope to live there until the end of their lives. But while there are many benefits, there are also unique challenges to aging in rural communities. Hi, I'm Kathy Matea. In this edition of Aging Matters, we'll explore aging in rural America with all of its benefits and consequences. Older adults living in rural communities have powerful social networks, but they're at a disadvantage when it comes to access to health care, nutritious food, transportation, and digital communications. Will these resources be there as small-town seniors age? We'll explore these issues and more. Join us.
We're on the Cumberland Plateau. We're in Deer Lodge. It's a northwestern part of Morgan County. It's a small community. We've been here in my family 100 years, since 1919. 4 generations have lived on this piece of property.
In Tennessee's smallest communities, it may be easy to think that little has changed, that the way of life in rural America has remained the way it has been for decades. But the truth is, no one is immune from change, and places like Deer Lodge, Tennessee, have seen an accelerating transformation as the population ages.
The population in Deer Lodge is just a little under 2,000. The majority of people in Deer Lodge are senior citizens. The population has decreased over the years. We used to have stores and other facilities. We don't have anything like that now. Mainly the post office is about all we have in Deer Lodge.
There is a life cycle that has developed in places like Deer Lodge. It's one that Kathy Carroll and Sandy Sperling know well.
I grew up in Deer Lodge. My grandparents, great-grandparents, they're buried in the Mount Hope Cemetery here in Deer Lodge, so all my life I've been here.
Well, growing up in a rural area, your children have access to the openness. My kids can explore the country and see the cows, and they know how to grow their food.
Just yesterday, my grandchildren went on a hike in this area. So yes, I think it's the best place.
Yeah, it is. It's really great.
But the challenges of living in rural America start when kids become adults and have to find work.
To find good work, to be able to support your family, make a living, you do have to go away from Deer Lodge.
There are no job opportunities in Deer Lodge.
The flight of working-age adults from rural communities impacts the local economy.
If you're traveling to Oak Ridge to do your work, then you stop in Oak Ridge and you spend your money on your way back home from work, which creates a challenge for all of Morgan County economically in the tax base.
Which is what caused the stores to close down. We don't even have a grocery store in Deer Lodge. So money spent everywhere else caused the small mom and pop business to close down.
Not all working-age adults that leave rural areas to find work come back. Those that do, like Dennis Jones, are drawn back to the life they grew up with and loved.
I am attached to the land. And I think the land has a lot to do with the way you feel about society and the way you react with other people. I think the land has effect on you.
Part of the reality and perhaps allure of country living is the requisite self-sufficiency that comes with being on your own.
You can earn enough money to be self-sufficient. Or if you don't earn enough money, then you've got to do a lot of the work yourself, which we do, me and my wife. Taking care of this place is a big job for two people at our age, but so 15 acres is a lot of land if you work it and take care of it. You've got timber. Part of the house was built from the timber. We've lived off from the gardens for years. Tomatoes, all okra, beans, green beans, galores of them. Grandma and my wife, we've canned beans for days, 50 quarts or more, get us through the winter. But that's all gone in the past.
There comes a point when aging limits the workload you can handle. That's where the challenges start to stack up.
Well, as you get older, you can't garden as much, and that's where we wanted to do one this year, but with all the rain, we just couldn't get it going this year. So we're dependent upon going to the store and buying a lot of our canned stuff now.
The 30-mile one-way trip to reach a grocery store, buying more food than you previously had to, plus the added fuel costs, mean money doesn't go as far. According to Kathy Carroll and Sandy Sperling, who operate Scott Morgan Community Development, a local nonprofit, seniors are making tough choices about what they spend their money on.
Those folks who have retired and living are mostly living on Social Security, $700 a month, because jobs in the past did not provide a retirement plan for those folks. $700 a month does not account for a house payment or medical care or food and prescriptions and that sort of thing. So what we see happening is they barely are able to buy their food and pay their utility bills and provide for the medication they need.
Older adults in rural communities face higher levels of poverty than their urban neighbors. They also carry a higher burden of chronic disease, are more likely to live with disability and live shorter lives. Health challenges and financial insecurity affect other areas, like housing.
Well, I've been here for over 30-some years, and I want to spend the rest of my life here. I know the health problem I got. My days are numbered. Right now, I'm trying to remodel my house, and we're only doing a little bit at a time because I can only work a certain amount, then I got to sit down and rest. And then I go right back to it once I start breathing better. I can only do a little bit at a time because of my money situation, finance situation. So I do a little bit each month, and then till I can, try to get everything done. I'm trying to get my house completed before it's time for me to go.
My daddy taught me when I was little how to mow the yard. My kids helps me too some. They tell me not to do stuff and I go ahead and do it while they're at work. I mean, I was raised that way, to work and take care of myself. That's the way I was raised, and I'm proud of it.
One of the positives about living in a rural community is the strength of social networks. Friends, family, and neighbors look out for each other. According to Summer Boyd, that's still true in Hickman County, even though their population has grown in recent years.
Most of us still have a rural mentality because we still have to take care of each other.
Mrs. Boyd is a librarian in Hickman County's East Branch. She sees her role as more than a resource for books and literacy.
Oh, thank you very much.
I really believe that.
Our role in this community, our library system, is to take care of our citizens here in Hickman County. We are, in essence, a social service. Many of our agencies in the county we're partners with, 4-H, senior citizens, the health department. We are actually partners with each other because obviously we're where everything is. We're right off the main highway and they're tucked away someplace else.
Boyd also finds her mission through talking to her neighbors and listening to what they need, like the time Mrs. Veach came in concerned about her home.
She said, "My heat's not working. I am in one room. My house is so cold." And I said, Miss Sadie, you don't have to live like that.
Mrs. Boyd knew of a nonprofit in Nashville that provides free emergency home repairs for older adults in need. She helped Mrs. Veach prepare an application and let Westminster Home Connection take it from there.
So this is the list of things that we're going to get done at your house today.
Okay. Well, they came in and they put me some new heaters in there and everything, and then they got to looking and they said, "Well, I think this needs to be done, I think that needs to be done." And I just looked at them, I said, "Well, do what you want to." I appreciate anything.
The goal is to find out what is that most pressing need that they need to be able to stay and live in that house safely and with dignity. And we take that and begin to address those issues right away. So many people are alone and isolated, few resources, few people in the community to come around and support them. But probably the overall biggest issue is that older adults, really all of us, want to stay in our home as long as possible.
In order for older adults across Tennessee to successfully stay in their homes, they need housing that is safe, affordable, and accessible. Unfortunately, that is not always the case.
I do have a concern on the quality and safety of the homes across Middle Tennessee. Time and time again, we see the common issues that are there. Just being able to have a home that is not leaking, that has adequate heating and cooling, that is able to be accessible by people. Those are individuals, but as you collectively look at that in communities, in the cities, in the rural areas, it's a massive problem.
Westminster Home Connection focuses repairs on safety and mobility. One of Mrs. Veach's favorite results of the work is a new area to relax.
Well, the gentlemen, they come out and built me a little porch on the back. I've been wanting it for a long time. And they built it, and I love it. And they done an extra good job on it.
But just as important as the repairs are the relationships.
All the people that I knew growing up, they have passed away just about it. My husband, I lost him, and of course I grieve over him, but that don't bother me as bad as it does the way I lost my son. I lost my son 9 years ago, and I'm still grieving over him. I have been awful lonesome sometimes since I've lost him.
If you know someone who needs something and you are able to help, call somebody, do something, go check on them. And that's all it takes. It doesn't take money, it just takes time. And what is time in the scheme of things?
Looking after one another can solve some problems older adults face, but tackling the lack of infrastructure and resources in rural communities is hard for individuals to fix. One of the most challenging problems older adults face in rural communities is access to health care.
Rural health care is different, and we just have to adjust to it. And it's been difficult. It's been stressful. I try to find solutions to problems in the community, but this one is huge.
In 2014, Brownsville, Tennessee felt the impact of a surging trend when they lost their local hospital.
Here we are at Haywood Park Hospital, closed for several years now. Spent many days in this facility seeing patients, a lot of nights in the emergency room, a lot of days and nights delivering babies, and no longer a facility for Brownsville or Haywood County. I'm like everybody else now. I'm out in the community wondering, what's really going to happen if I have an issue.
At first, it's a shock factor. That's one of the number one things I have to address. Why don't you have a hospital?
Across the U.S., hospital closures in rural America have become an epidemic. There have been 128 closures since 2010. 13 hospitals have closed in rural Tennessee. 82% of hospital closures are in the southern region of the United States. Why hospitals are closing in rural communities is hard to pin down.
Depending on who you're talking to, there are talking points on either side of why it closed. All I know is it closed. All I know is that our community is suffering from a lack of emergency care.
In the years since, Brownsville and Haywood County have had to adapt. The Brownsville Press, the local paper, documented the closure of Haywood Park Community Hospital and its aftermath.
Well, we reported all sorts of things about it. Of course, health care being the number one. One of the main things we lost when we lost the hospital was the emergency room, and it made a big difference in urgent care.
Without access to a local emergency room, Haywood County has worked to beef up its ambulance service.
But we can't really say enough about the quality of our ambulance service. The problem that we have with the ambulance authority here is there are a lot of instances where there are multiple ambulance calls at the same time and there is no ambulance available.
Although we're only 30 minutes away from Jackson, sometimes that 30 minutes can make a huge difference. You have what they call the golden hour of treatment when somebody's in a crisis, and that can be your most important time to save an individual. I think a lot of the older people now just live in fear of something happening to them and not having a hospital.
Haywood County isn't alone. The nearby community of Humboldt also lost its hospital in 2014 and finally lost its emergency room at the end of 2019. Archie Cox, director of the Humboldt Senior Center, sees the strain on her community.
For older adults here in town, having a local hospital means a whole lot. You need the professionals that know what they're doing, and by having an emergency room, that gives you confidence, that gives you a more comfortable feeling about safety, being safe and being secure. I pray and I ask God that maybe they would bring it back again, open it back up again, because I know how important it is.
The departure of resources from rural communities goes beyond hospitals. It's a long list of closures and consolidation.
Living in a rural community, times have changed. We used to have access to programs right within our community. People could reach out or pick up the phone, make a phone call, have services they needed right away. And suddenly everything seemed to go regional. And things going regionally really impacted our area because a lot of senior citizens, or not even just senior citizens, but a lot of people in our area do not have means to reach out to these regional offices to grasp what they need to be able to continue to live and strive and provide a good life for their families here in the area.
Sandy Sperling and Kathy Carroll find themselves serving as the go-between, trying to connect their community to resources in hubs like Knoxville. Their primary mission is to help with housing and home repairs, but they find themselves navigating all kinds of issues.
If we run across someone who's needing legal services, we can help them reach out. In insurance, Medicare, health insurance, the enrollment period every year is a nightmare for a lot of our citizens in Deer Lodge and in Morgan County.
And one of the advantages for us is we know most of the people in the community and they know us. So welcoming us into their home is not an issue, but if they have to go to Knoxville or those places to get funds, they don't want to do that because that opens them up to, I've got to tell you that I need this.
If resources can get connected to places like Deer Lodge, organizations like Scott Morgan Community Development can quickly put them to use. One example is the food delivery program they started in 2018.
We had places where you could go get food if you had transportation and you were able to do that. And it was my desire to be able to deliver that food to their house to those people that might not be able to get out. We made contact with someone that I knew in Knoxville in Second Harvest, and we went over and had a meeting with them in January, and we were serving 20 people in February.
But with just Sperling and Carroll operating Scott Morgan Community Development, they needed help to meet the growing food needs in Deer Lodge.
Kathy had come and approached me and needed some help. She needed some financial help to help get this program up and running.
Tim Stillman is the welding instructor at Morgan County Career and Technical School. It's a trade-oriented high school program to prepare Morgan County students for jobs after they graduate. The school participates in an annual volunteer competition called Skills USA, where they put their trade to work for the community. At first, their contributions were financial, but then students started volunteering their time to sort and distribute food.
Without them, we wouldn't be able to carry on, but they have been a big plus in the funds and in the physical help.
With the help of the Morgan County Skills USA team, they were able to scale up the food distribution to serving more than 70 people. One of the student volunteers was Kevon Mundy, who lives with his grandfather in Deer Lodge.
Well, working with Scott Morgan has taught me a lot of things, like there's a lot more people and they can't get out and tell us that they have trouble, so.
Mundy realized his grandfather could benefit from the food program too.
My papa, he's not working anymore. He is now living off of his Social Security check. And I've been noticing that we've been getting less and less groceries recently because of his medical that he's been paying off of. And if you notice, we've been remodeling the house as well, and that's been taking some money. And so when we started doing that food drive, I was asking what is the requirements for the food drive? You know, I just wanted to see if I could get him hooked onto it. I remember when I first brought up that food box, I was thinking to myself, I was like, he's either gonna take this food or I'm gonna have to sneak it in.
One of the things that really thrills me about seeing the Skills USA team here, and for example, Kevon, he sees the need to provide this service. It's my hope that some of those students someday will fill my shoes and step up and be able to continue to run this organization and fill the needs of people in Deer Lodge and Morgan and Scott counties.
Maybe one day, but for Kevon Mundy, newly graduated, the time has come for him to leave Deer Lodge.
How you guys doing?
Pretty good. How you doing, Tim?
I thought I might come see that youngin' one more time before he heads out on us.
Yeah.
Are you excited?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Nervous?
A little.
Honestly, graduating around, it's kind of scary thinking that I'm gonna have to go away from here to go to school and get away from here and get a job and all that other stuff, because my concerns for when I leave is obviously is gonna be the health. My papa doing a lot of stuff that he's doing right now. He's lifting stuff he shouldn't be lifting, doing a lot of hard work he shouldn't be doing, and it's kind of scary thinking that if I leave here and something happens, if just something bad happens while he's working.
Well, I can tell you, everybody loves you. You'll do fine. The main thing is don't lose focus while you're there. And if you need me, all you gotta do is call me. You can call collect if you have to. I will accept the charges one time. Okay? Love you, my friend.
I've had most of my memories here and a lot of things that like responsibility and like my worth ethic comes from my old man, so it's one of those things that I'm gonna remember for a long time.
The same characteristics that make a rural community attractive can also make it isolating. Small town life has many advantages, and while there are challenges, there are things that can be done to use the strengths and assets of small town communities to improve the health and well-being of rural seniors. To learn more and to see all of Nashville Public Television's Aging Matters series, visit wnpt.org/Aging Matters. Thanks for watching.
Major funding for Aging Matters is provided by the West End Home Foundation, enriching the lives of older adults through grant-making, advocacy, and community collaboration. The Jeanette Travis Foundation, dedicated to improving the health and well-being of the Middle Tennessee community. The HCA Healthcare Foundation, on behalf of TriStar Health. Cigna, together all the way. Additional funding provided by Jackson National Life Insurance Company, the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee, and by members of NPT. Thank you.